Officers rushed into my residence bearing urgent information. We've relocated a child discovered in a vehicle registered to your identity. You are detained. Stunned by their abrupt entrance, I fought to understand what I lack. A child, I exclaimed. In bewilderment, the official seemed equally puzzled, stating they had traced the vehicle's owner via the registration. My identity was documented. Might this be some dreadful confusion? Frenzied with anxiety, I hurried to the medical facility where the child was brought there. A 5-year-old male rested on an emergency stretcher, his expression red and etched with anguish, yet despite his state a wave of acknowledgement and worry swept through me at seeing his known characteristics. From that instant my existence took an unforeseen direction with this youngster as its center. My identity is Emily, age 33, laboring from residence. I encountered my spouse Michael in university where we connected through mutual passions in an organization. Ultimately wedding following graduation. Despite our 10-year union, we battled with sterility. Despite procedures my ailment made conceiving challenging. Michael, always compassionate, comforted me. It's fine, let's concentrate on remaining content together. My spouse's family are marvelous individuals. They never stressed me regarding bearing offspring, particularly since my brother-in-law previously had a youngster of his own. Nonetheless, I couldn't avoid feeling remorseful for my own guardians, who enthusiastically anticipated grandchildren. Fortunately residing nearby, I ensured to see them frequently. If only John possessed a youngster. I have a younger sibling named John, 7 years my inferior. Despite our guardians treating us similarly, John felt overshadowed by my accomplishments and intellect. He drifted toward problematic companions during secondary education, rebelling against any contrast to his older sibling. By the time he reached 20, he severed connections with our household, disappearing without evidence. Sometimes I browse through aged photograph collections, reminiscing about John stumbling behind me as an infant, calling me sister. One morning, while laboring from residence, my doorbell continuously chimed. Panicked, I examined the camera display to observe police officials at my entrance. Suddenly they declared, "We've brought a youngster discovered in a vehicle. You are detained." Stunned and wordless, I stammered, "What? I lack a youngster." The official seemed as confused as I was. In that instant my thoughts raced with unresolved inquiries. According to the authorities, a pedestrian noticed an abandoned vehicle on the street with a youngster inside, reported it, and the youngster was rushed to the emergency ward by ambulance. When I asked about the vehicle's position, I was amazed to discover it was stationed before my guardian's residence, though they were presently absent. On a journey, the authorities traced the vehicle's owner through its registration, confirming it was registered to my identity. However, the individual using it was my younger sibling John. The first used to loan my vehicle to John, who had recently acquired his permit, and he took it when he departed residence. Since then the vehicle had remained stationed before my guardian's residence, brought out only for required inspections and maintenance. Despite my guardian's scolding, they maintained the automobile out of compassion, believing John might still require it. But who was the youngster left alone in the vehicle? Rushing to the medical facility, I approached the emergency ward stretcher, where a small head appeared from beneath a cover, its curly wavy locks strikingly familiar. My pulse raced as memories of Jay's childhood flashed through my thoughts. Drawing nearer, I saw the expression of a male around 4 or 5 years aged, bearing a remarkable similarity to John. Might it be this youngster? Before I could complete my thought, a panicked telephone call from my mother, still absent on her journey, interrupted my thoughts. John called me in a panic, asking me to watch after his youngster. He explained he left the youngster in the vehicle because we weren't residents, and it was burning outside. What should we do? I reassured the distressed mother that the youngster had already been taken to the medical facility and was expected to recover. Relieved, she promised to return soon. Understanding my mother's urgency to return, I pondered about this youngster, who clearly belonged to my sibling. Questions raised through my thoughts. When was he born, and who is his mother? I informed the authorities he's likely my sibling's youngster and committed to staying with him. Despite repeated attempts, I couldn't reach my sibling on the telephone. As I watched the youngster, his small body seemed to endure so much pain. A nurse approached and handed me his garments, which were tattered and heavily stained with the identity Tom on the label. Seeing his extreme thinness and the condition of his garments, it was evident Tom had endured a harsh upbringing in impoverished conditions. That evening my mother returned from her journey and hurried to the medical facility. John, she whispered, tearfully embracing Tom, who bore a striking similarity to my sibling. By the following morning Tom's condition had improved, though he appeared visibly frightened. I gently reassured him, trying not to alarm him further. "How aged are you, Tom?" I asked softly. 5 years aged, he replied, holding up his hand and counting his digits. "Wow, you speak so clearly," I remarked, impressed by his articulation. I praised Tom and gently stroked his head, finally coaxing a smile from his pale, thin expression. Despite his frail appearance, he seemed to brighten up in response. The doctor informed us of bruises covering his body. I persuaded the authorities to let us care for Tom until we could reach John, skillfully avoiding An official report 3 days later Tom was discharged from the medical facility unwilling to see him in his worn-out garments. I bought him new ones, which made him look even more charming and bright. As we prepared to leave the medical facility, I managed to reach John on the telephone amidst a chaotic background noise. How could you leave him in the vehicle under the hot sun? He was taken to the medical facility, but he survived thankfully. I confronted him. He had bruises all over his body. Did you do this? Thomas is clumsy. I was just trying to discipline him, John retorted, his tongue devoid of remorse, leaving me wordless. He's only 5 years aged. He's slow, can't even remember his letters. No matter how many times I teach him, it's frustrating. So I left him at our guardian's place. I was appalled by my siblings' harsh treatment of his son. Concerned for Tom's well-being under such parenting, John callously added, I'm in the middle of a casino jackpot right now. Before abruptly hanging up, witnessing Tom's worried expression, tears welled up silently as I reassured him with a gentle stroke, everything will be okay, he's just 5. It's natural for him to cry and seek comfort, yet he remained silent. His lack of calling out for his guardians tugged at my pulse, prompting painful thoughts. After discussing with Michael and our guardians, we resolved to care for Tom in our residence. Back at residence, I prepared a children's lunch of hamburgers and fries, adorned with colorful character flags. When I said it before Tom, his eyes lit up in wonder. I've never had anything like this before. Can I really eat it? Of course, Tom, it's all for you, I assured him, delighted by his messy enjoyment. Ketchup smudged on his cheeks and a joyful grin on his expression. In the evening, Tom giggled and splashed around in the bath, with Michael thoroughly enjoying himself. At bedtime, I nestled beside him reading picture books. He listened attentively with bright eyes, yet occasionally a hint of worry clouded his expression. Can I stay here forever? I don't want to go back. Residence, he asked me suddenly, his voice tinged with uncertainty. I understand you want to stay here, don't you? I asked gently. Tom nodded with visible relief, and my pulse ached to see him in such a vulnerable state. In the days that followed, he grew increasingly attached to Michael and me. He eagerly offered to help fold laundry or carry bags when we went shopping, his small frame determined and eager to contribute. Living together, I discovered what a kind and wonderful youngster Tom was. Both Michael and I grew deeply fond of him, leading us to discuss the possibility of adopting him, especially if John and his partner had no plans to raise him. Upon checking with the city office, I learned that Tom's birth had been registered by my sibling and his spouse, and they were listed on the residence certificate as living with Tom at our guardian's residence. We began consulting with family court about the next steps. About a month after Tom came to live with us, John and a young woman arrived for a visit. Thanks for taking care of Tom, she greeted us warmly. As soon as Tom saw them, he instinctively sought refuge behind me. Clearly uneasy, it was evident he had endured unsettling experiences. My sibling, whom I hadn't seen in years, appeared more assertive than before, dressed unkemptly, signaling troubled times. The young woman with him introduced herself as Risa, adorned with multiple ear and nose piercings, exuding a flashy, carefree aura. How did you find out where I live? I questioned, feeling uneasy. Hey, sister, mom, looks like you're living the good existence in this nice residence, huh? John remarked casually. I need to talk about Tom. Let us in. Reluctantly, I agreed, unable to refuse when Tom's well-being was at stake. According to my sibling, he had married Reza shortly after leaving residence. They had lived a transit lifestyle, often staying in their vehicle due to lack of stable accommodation. As John looked around our residence, he finally came to the point. I heard from Mom that you don't have offspring, right? After 10 years of marriage with no kids, it must be tough. John remarked casually. What are you suggesting? I asked, sensing an underlying motive. We have a proposal. How about taking Tom off our hands? Of course it won't come cheap, John replied nonchalantly. I was taken aback by his audacity, trying to sell his own son after earlier abandoning him at our guardians because of inconvenience. Anger surged within me. John, do you even see your youngster as a human being? He's not something you can just sell. What, acting all self-righteous now? I rebelled. Because of your strictness, our guardians always favored you. It's ridiculous how you blame us for your failures. John retorted defiantly. Shut up, just give me the money. I snapped back, infuriated. John raised his hand threateningly, poised to strike me. Suddenly, Tom, who had been hiding behind me, stepped forward. He stretched out his arms, trying to shield me from Jay's aggression. Witnessing Tom's brave gesture only strengthened my resolve to protect him. Selling a youngster for money was inconceivable. Despite my anger, I decided to offer them the $13. 400 I had saved as a settlement. I made them sign an agreement stating they would never interfere with Tom again and obtain their consent for his adoption. John's spouse callously remarked, it's a relief not to have to deal with such a troublesome youngster, shocking me with her indifference. After the formalities were settled, they greedily took the money, sneered, and vanished. From that moment, Tom truly became our son, and we finalized all the necessary legal procedures the ensuing days. overflowed with joy. Tom thrived in health, and our lives as a couple were brimming with smiles and happiness because of him. During this time we discovered Tom's talents and were eager to nurture them, yet 15 years later another unexpected encounter unfolded once more. My younger sibling and his spouse paid us a visit. John sported a scruffy beard, unkempt hair, and appeared much older than his 41 years. His spouse, without makeup, wore worn-out garments and torn plastic sandals. It was evident they have fallen on hard times, living a rough existence. An uneasy feeling settled over me as they appear unexpectedly, knowing their visit couldn't be well, especially with my dependable spouse, Michael, absent at work that day. "What do you want?" I asked cautiously. "I need some money," John replied bluntly. "Why should I give you money?" I countered, wary of his intentions. "I heard Tom, that idiot, managed to get into a prestigious medical school." John remarked, his disdain evident. It seemed he had learned about Tom's achievements from someone in our neighborhood at a local tavern. In reality, Tom is incredibly bright. He's been at the top of his class since elementary school and recently secured a spot at a prestigious medical school straight out of high school. "Why is that any concern of yours now?" I asked sharply. "It's a big deal. He's my son, and since he's turned out so well I think I'll take him back," John declared with a smirk. "What?" I exclaimed, stunned by his audacity. "If you think I'll agree to that, how about you demand $33,500? Sister, didn't I already receive $13,400 from you 15 years ago?" John retorted. "That's a different situation. I can't give you that kind of money," I replied firmly. When I firmly declined, John seized my collar and threatened me, his grip tight and menacing. The pain I felt was more emotional than physical as I looked at my estranged sibling in dismay. Just as tension escalated, a voice interrupted with a shout, "Stop," and forcefully grabbed Jay's arm. It was Tom, now a sturdy 20-year-old, who easily subdued John, pinning him to the floor. Seeing Tom grown up, Jay's spouse spoke in a saccharine tone. "You've grown so much. I'm your mother. I've missed you." But Tom responded firmly, "My only guardians are the ones in this residence. I remember what you did to me when I was 5. I felt love for the first time here. You are not my guardians." Even after Tom's declaration, they persisted. I then produced the agreement we made 15 years ago. It explicitly stated, "We will have no further involvement with the youngster. Failure to comply will result in legal action. You've broken your promise. I'm calling the authorities," I declare firmly. They looked visibly shaken, scrambling to make excuses, claiming they had completely forgotten about the agreement. In truth, we're being hounded by debt collectors. "Without $33,500 we're in serious trouble," John pleaded, his tone now desperate after earlier threats. "Don't expect sympathy from me. I can't help you," I responded coldly. "The day you abandoned Tom, you lost any claim to my support. I don't have a sibling anymore." "I'm sorry, but no," I replied coldly, refusing to enable his actions any further. As their persistence pushed me to consider involving the authorities, they reluctantly departed. Later, I learned that the couple had been apprehended for shoplifting and were serving time in jail, their lives evidently in turmoil. Meanwhile, Michael, Tom, and I enjoyed a peaceful and joyful existence together. Tom's aspiration to become a doctor, driven by a desire to alleviate suffering, filled me with immense pride and happiness. Reflecting on our existence, Tom's presence had brought laughter and contentment into our days. We look forward to continuing our happy existence.